Hey guys, this is Pepe from Server 312. I wanted to make a video going over the engineering skills because there's not a ton of resources for this game, and I feel like the more resources we have out there, the better off everyone's going to be. Um, Couple disclaimers about this. One, this is my farm account, so clearly it's level 9. It's not very far along because I didn't invest in Season 2, where I didn't invest in the furnaces or, the titanium alloy production, so that's why this is not very high level, but we can still look at these and go through them. Um, Second is I am not a whale. I don't have a ton of money invested in this game, which when you do, typically that means that you've learned a lot about the very top end of the game. Um, so just keep in mind, I am a non-rushed level 30 or HQ 30. Um, I'm relatively strong for my server. I'm above average for sure, and I know a lot about the game. So I just wanted to help share that knowledge. So if you disagree with the things I say, that's fine. Just note that if you are a beginner in this game, this should help you a lot. If you are a little further along, then maybe it won't help you as much, but maybe you'll learn a couple things you didn't know, or maybe you can correct me on some things. But anyways, so that's disclaimer. I'm just going to go ahead and get into it and start at the bottom. And keep in mind this is season 2, so you'll see that there are season 2 skills on the right side here: firebomb, overdrive increase, heat production. So this is a little bit different than season 1. Um, so just keep that in mind as well. If needed, I can go through the season 1 skills as well to help people out, or if they have any questions about it, I can try and answer those in comments if people want to do that. So okay, starting at the bottom. Have combat experience increases profession EXP from killing monsters on the world map. This is okay at low levels of your profession because you're trying to get EXP as fast as you can. As you go along, though, as you get higher, it becomes very much not useful at all. I know right now I want to say I get 0.08% for killing an elite. And that is with, I think I also have a level 1 here just so I can build up the tree on the right side. I have a level 1 here on my main account. So with a 20% increase, that is 0.09% of my total profession EXP for an elite. So that's 20 stamina that you're using on an elite, and you're getting next to nothing for it. I would have to kill 100 of them to get 9%, which is 2,000 experience or 2,000 stamina. I personally, I don't think combat experience is worth it. If you're a lower level profession, then sure, you can get a little bit more out of this. But as you get higher, I would pull points out of this to put into other things. You need 1 point in it, but that's about the max that I would do. Outstanding contribution. This increases the amount of alliance points you get for donating. You should be maxing out your donation tech in your alliance anyways. So this is a great one to have. It costs you 1 point. This is an easy go ahead and get it for me. Kind of a must-have because it's passive. You don't have to do anything extra. Just help your alliance and get points back in return. Get extra points with this one. Rapid production. This to me is good when you first get it, and it is great as you get stronger. And the main reason I say that, so this for at max level, level 5, it gives you 24 hours of production from your in-base gathering. So it's food, iron, and coin. Um, the main reason that this is good is for speeding up your return on investment on what you put into your farms, your mines, and your gold mines. As you increase those, you'll find that I think right now, just based on the flat numbers without percentage increase from survivors and whatnot, a flat increase, it would take me a year and a half to get a return on investment for upgrading another building. I think for upgrading a gold mine to level 26, I want to say it's like 500 days to do that. So at a certain point, yes, that becomes not very viable. Survivors bring that down. Interior, the Secretary of Interior brings that down, and rapid production brings that down. Just remember there are other times where you have a gold mine, um, and the increase is like a 60-day return on investment. So the amount that you get back from it is 60 days worth to pay off what you paid for it, if that makes sense. With rapid production at level 5, that cuts that in half. So now instead of 60, it's 30. And then everything after that is pure profit. So keep that in mind. Rapid production is amazing once you get it to a certain level. Um, Even at the lowest level, it's decent. So if you have the points that you don't need to be putting into other things, more important things, this is about mid priority in some areas where you really are growing quickly and you need to put points into other things, but I think it becomes very high priority once you can start moving your points around freely. Um, so extra meal. This one I think is a little bit controversial for me. I put a point into it because to me this is essentially giving me a purple stamina speed up every single day. Right? It gives you a total. It gives you 2 sets of 25 stamina added to the free 50 that you get. So you get 2 sets of 75 stamina for free each day with this. Normally you get 2 sets of 50. I think this is worth it. I've heard other people say that it's not worth it. But if you're going to give me one purple stamina every day and all I have to spend is one profession point, I'm going to do that. So I would recommend that. Other people might not. Siege Mastery. So this one's another one where it is a little bit iffy. I could see it being very good for some people and not so good for other people. The reason that I don't personally put points into this is because I find piggy banks around the map. So if you aren't familiar with the term, you send out scouts and you find bases that are abandoned that from people that don't play anymore that still have a lot of resources inside of them. Um, and you basically attack those as many times as you can without completely leveling them. Because once you level them, they spawn to a different point on the map. Um, with Siege Mastery, you're adding 100 damage to every time you attack them. And on top of season 2 heat buffs that you get, that can add up to quite a bit of damage. If this is maxed out, you will be doing 1500 damage per hit, which means instead of being able to attack them 9 times, you only get to attack them 6 times before you have to stop and let them regenerate their health, so you can attack them again the next day and get your resources. So that's why I don't put points into this. However, if you aren't super worried about that, or you have a bunch of different piggy banks that you can put it into, and you do a lot of war, you know, you're an alliance goes and fights a lot, this is probably worth your points. Like I said, my alliance is not very heavy on fighting, so until I need to redistribute my points, this one's probably going to stay at 0 for me. At least in season 2, because the heat factor is already coming into play, and personally, I'm still building up. I'm very close to T10 units. As I speak right now, I'll probably have them by the time most people watch this video. So that is my opinion on that. This is good. I think that it is better for some people than others. Let's start this one. Building Inspiration 1. Increase professional XP from upgrading season buildings. This one to me is a must-have. This is all 3 points that it can take. Yeah, out of 3, you put all 3 points in there. The primary way that you get experience, profession experience during the season, is through building buildings. So another 15% increase on that. I'm doing in season 2. I'm doing the tank, aircraft, and missile seasonal buildings that add 0.5% extra damage per upgrade. And I believe at about level 20, going to about level 20, I get about 30% of my total EXP to get to the next level, and that's from one building. So that is with the 15% increase. It is a substantial amount of EXP. I would recommend getting all 3 points into this one if you have the points to spare. Research for free. and I can talk about both these at the same time and build for free. So both of these are 48 minutes per level. These are very good at lower levels. And when I say lower, I guess when I say lower levels, I could say lower level buildings or lower level players, because they having 48 minutes per level, that's going to go up to, I believe, 5 hours. I don't know, I'm going to do the math on it. That's going to go up to 5 hours of free build time for everything that you build. As you get stronger, same for research. As you get stronger, your buildings and your research are going to cost more resources and they're going to cost more time. So if I am building a building that takes me 20 days to build, cutting off 5 hours from that is not very substantial. I still think these are good. These have helped a lot in Season 2. The build for free especially has helped a lot in Season 2. But they're very good for newer players or for players that haven't hit like maybe level 27, HQ 27 yet. Roughly, that's just kind of a guesstimate, because that's when buildings typically start to cost a lot more as far as time goes. So very good ones. I rate these highly. These are worth putting points into. If you have extra points to spare and you're a high level, I would still recommend putting these in there because why not? If you're a lower level, I think these are must-haves because you can cruise through research and you can cruise through buildings. Many times there are buildings where you can just hit the build button with diamonds because it costs you 0 because of this skill. So keep that in mind. Winter Wonderland, this is just, it doesn't do anything for you. It's just a skin. You have to get it, though, in order to advance up the skill tree. So, yes, put the point in there, but do it only when you are about to be level 25. So plan out your points here, because these that I'm about to talk about are not really worth putting points into, mostly. Okay, research now and build now. These are a little bit different because rather than being a passive skill where every time you build something or every time you research something, like in the previous level of skills, these are active. So every 2 days, you get to trim off. At level 1, every 2 days, you get to trim off 2 hours worth of build time. The build time goes up to 10 hours, and the research time goes up to 20 hours. And that is very substantial because, again, if you're building your HQ, right, most HQ level ups take, even with the town buff or with the capital buff, it probably takes, 20 to 30 days at certain levels to get it up. If you think about that, every 2 days of that, if you have this maxed out, you are taking away 10 hours. You are chipping off 10 hours of that every single 2 days, right? Whereas this one gives you 5 hours for free in the very beginning, which is still decent, but this is going to be more substantial. So if you are a higher level and your buildings or your research are costing a lot of time or building up to a lot of time, these are absolutely worth it. Especially because this is for all construction and all research. So if you have multiple builders and you have two or they're coming out with a third tech center, these are going to be great. So higher levels, these are a must-have, in my opinion. At lower levels, I think that the build for free and research for free are a better investment. So keep that in mind. Siege Banner, it's good. It's good to have a few people in the alliance that have it. I don't think it's super essential. Again, if you have people that or an alliance that fights a lot, this is probably worth putting a point into because that's all it's going to take. Increases durability damage by 100. Pretty straightforward, and that's for everybody within that area. So it's okay. I think it's worth having if you have an extra point just lying around that you don't have any idea what else to put it into. So that'd really be the only time I put point in it, and that is when I put a point in it. Rally Rush, joining or returning with rallies boost troop march speed. This is It's fine, I guess. It's very niche. Like it can be good for the coin zombie bosses when you're trying to poach them from other people. You go a little bit quicker. You move a little bit quicker towards them. It can be good for the Doomwalker event where everybody's trying to take out Doomwalkers as fast as possible on the map, and you're all scrambling to try to get to it. It can be good if you need to rally the capital or things like that. Um, but again, it's very niche. I wouldn't put points into this unless you know you have a scenario that you would use it in. Siege Inspiration, increased profession EXP from damaging city durability. So I don't have the numbers on what you get from damaging cities for EXP, but I'm gonna put this in the same boat as combat experience. I don't think it's worth the time. You can experiment with it yourself, see how much you get. You know, check what a 20% increase to that would be, and see if it's worth it for you to get Siege Inspiration. I have never put a point into Siege Inspiration, so that's where I'm at there. This is borderline useless. When reinforcing an ally's base, the casualty rate of the drill grounds unit decreases by 5% up to, I'm assuming, 25%. I'm saying I'm assuming because I've never put points into that, because I would never do that. Because at that point, you're reinforcing an ally's base, the casualty rate of the drill ground units is decreased. Like, that means you're sacrificing your own troops to help save theirs. And you're assuming that you're going to lose the fight, which means you are losing all the troops that you have, the maximum amount of troops that you can in that fight. So, you know what I mean. Friendly aid, I do not think is worth it at all. So double exchange, this one's kind of interesting. I believe this one goes. I want to say this goes from 5 to 15 to, I want to say it's 50,000 is the cost to use this of one resource to get another one. So this one is good because it is flexible. In the beginning of the seasons, you probably want to get, like for season 2, because I can't really remember season 1, I'm getting confused on the mutant crystals versus the serum. But for season 2, you probably want coal early on, in my opinion, right? Because if you get coal early on, that means you can increase the level of your alloy farms, and your alloy farms, among other things for coal, and your alloy farms are going to produce more alloy in the long run. So you're sacrificing a little bit of alloy to get coal, but if you are one of the primary people in your alliance that has the high virus resistance, you probably want to exchange coal for alloy just so you get that little tiny uptick to get you through the next day, right? Because the beginning of the season is always a sprint. It is a straight up sprint, and everybody is scraping for resources. A lot of people are spending a lot of money to try and get ahead and try and get land. So I think this one is worth it. I took points out of it because we're kind of late in the season now. We're past the halfway point. Everybody is max virus resistance, so we don't really care anymore. I still have a point in this. I still use it every 2 days just to get resources towards my seasonal damage buildings. So it's okay. I think it's worth it in the beginning of the season, and you need a point in there to go up the side tree anyways, so sure. Cooperative research and cooperative construction. I think these are great. They're especially great if a bunch of people in your alliance have them. I don't think they are 100% essential, but if you are the type of person that really likes to help out your alliance members, they're great to have. And again, if you are also in the late stages of things and you are upgrading buildings and research that take over a week, sometimes 2, 3, 4, or 5 weeks, these are really good to have because they cut multiple days off of your research, and they refresh after 24 hours. So I think these are worth having. These are like mid-level priority for me. If I really need the points for something else, I will leave it off of one of these, depending on which one I need more. and I will leave 2 points in the other one. Other people might have a different approach. Maybe if you have 2 points to spend, you want to put one in each to get that 10%. But I have enough alliance members that have this to where it's not a big deal. And you can usually just ask for it and somebody will have it. I do have both of these maxed out on my main account to help myself and to help others on versus days especially. Firebomb. So this, yeah, like it says, it covers a 9x9 area and it increases temperatures. I believe it goes 10 degrees, 25 degrees, 45 degrees. This is primarily used by people for uncovering scattered supplies. So for those who don't know, in Season 2, there's a bunch of snow on the ground. And underneath some parts of the snow in random areas, maybe not so random, there's scattered supplies that is open for everybody to get once it's uncovered. You don't know where it is, so firebombs are typically just dropped in snow patches. Cities will tell you how many in that square there are, so that gives you an idea of how careful you have to be about dropping a bomb there versus somewhere else that might have more. So this is useful. It's also useful for fighting if you really grind into the strategy. If you want to increase somebody's temperature a whole lot or increase multiple people's temperature, it's good to have. It does only last 5 minutes, so when you get to the point where you're taking a dig site and it's going to take you longer than 5 minutes to take down one of the monsters, it's good to have multiple of these. But it's still only 5 minutes. I know there were times where in the beginning stages we were taking 20 to 30 minutes to take something down. Lots of attacks, lots of rallies. So again, it's useful to have. It has more application than I've used it for too, like for heating up your opponents maybe, to get them to too high of a temperature so they start to burn in a fight, or heating up your allies in a fight so that they can do more damage. And again, for those of you who haven't gotten to Season 2, the ideal temperature is 40 to 50. After 50, you run the risk of burning. Below 0, you get penalized in certain ways. So your troops take longer to heal by a little bit. Your resources don't output as much. Your morale gets lower. And as the temperature goes up, those things go up to pretty substantial heights. So firebomb, is it worth it? Yeah, probably. There's a lot of different uses for it, but I feel like it can be situational depending on how your alliance runs and how you play the game. I'll go to professional insights. This should be maxed out. This is a no-brainer. This is super obvious. This goes up to 10%. It does have a maximum, which I believe the maximum at the final level is 100,000, which would make sense through math. So professional insights, this should be maxed out unless you hit the max level of your profession, because this is once every day you get this amount of experience. Either 2% or 20,000 at level 1. As it goes up, that gets more. It is free. Just do it. It's so easy to get experience this way. This is probably the second best way to get experience behind building buildings. And you might even argue this is the best way to get experience because it's so easy compared to building buildings. So recycling and resource saving. This one reduces the cost for construction. This one reduces the cost for research. So I'll start with research. These are slightly different. They do the same thing, but obviously they're different. Different focuses. So tech center research, I would only invest in recycling if you are working towards T10s. Or you have some very expensive research that you're doing, which is typically going to be T10 units, the grind to get that. If you are working on T10s, this is absolutely worth investing in. 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but considering you have to have 40 levels of skills in addition to the 1 level of, the actual T10 research, and some of those cost 500 million plus 600 million in resources, that 5% adds up. Most people have a really hard time getting the resources together for T10s. This will help a lot with that. The resource saving is a little bit different. This one I think is worth investing in the early season because this also reduces the amount of resources you need for your seasonal buildings. So it's not just, oh, this helps me build my HQ because it makes it a little bit cheaper. This is really helpful for seasonal buildings that take, in this season it's alloy and coal. So you use less of those to build these buildings, which gives you a leg up on building things. Like I said before, it is a sprint to get these done. If you have the points to put into resource saving, it is worth putting them into there. Um, all right, next, medical aid. This to me is borderline useless. Hospital capacity only increases by 10%. It has a cooldown rate of 3 days. I guess it can build itself up to 50%, but I feel like if you're in a fight where your hospital is getting to that level that quickly, this is not going to help you that much. It does last for 240 minutes, so it lasts for 4 hours, which is decent. But I don't know. If you don't have the speed ups to cover your recovery, then maybe this is worth it to you. Personally, I wouldn't put any points into it. I haven't put any points into it, so I would skip that one. Buddy Shield, however, this is super useful. It does have a 72-hour cooldown, so it's 3 days, but I primarily use this one for uh, the versus Buster Day when we have people coming over and attacking us. We still, half of our alliance is responsible, and the other half is kind of not as into the game. It seems, right? And maybe that's not fair to say. Maybe they lose track of it being Friday night, at least in the U.S., and they don't shield up right at reset, or maybe they shielded up 5 minutes before reset, and they got attacked 5 minutes before the next reset day when their shield expired. So in that 5 minute time frame, Buddy Shield is great for helping those people out, or for helping yourself out if you just need to buy yourself a little bit of time, because you can also use it on yourself. I think Buddy Shield is absolutely worth putting 1 point into. I would highly recommend that. Intense Overdrive, high temperature furnace overdrive effect plus 2 degrees C. So, again, for those who are not in season 2 yet, there are blizzards. You have a base temperature, right? And that, like I said before, that affects your resource output, your troop morale, the damage that you do to other HQs, things like that. You have a furnace that provides you heat when you turn it on, and it increases your temperature. You have a personal furnace. You have an alliance furnace that increases temperature in an area. Um, Intense overdrive just increases the temperature of your overdrive effect, which is you can turn your furnace on, and let's say it gives you 10 degrees. And then you can go into overdrive mode, which uses more coal, and it will increase your temperature, let's say 20 degrees instead of 10. This will add 2 degrees on top of that 20. I don't think it's worth it. It's worth putting 1 point into so that you can get up in the rankings, up in this skill tree on the side. Otherwise, I would just put a single point into it and not really worry about it. So, drone supply. This one is very good, in my opinion. This is a high priority for me, and I'm going to show you why. So, at level 1, you get 3 drone parts. Keep in mind, the cooldown on this skill, use it to get level 1 engineering skill reward. Better rewards at higher levels, right? And this has a 24-hour cooldown. Keep in mind, this is every day that you get to use this. At level 1, you get 3 drone parts every single day. And that's in addition to wherever else you get them. This is a guaranteed 3 drone parts. Level 2, it gets a little bit better with a common skill chip chest. Level 2 is not great. So if you don't have the points to put into it, I wouldn't bother going to level 2 yet. The only reason you'd want to go to level 2 is to get to level 4, right? Level 2 and 3 just give you common skill chip chests. They're okay, and you're still getting them every single day, which is good. Especially with the redesign now, where it's a little bit easier just to throw, mostly you're going to get green and blues out of these, so for your drone. So 2 and 3 aren't really worth it, but 4 is where it starts getting good. 4, you get 2 level 1 drone component chests. And again, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that say drone component chest, well, it's just level 1 and you only get 2 of them. But this is every single day you get 2 of these, in addition to 3 drone parts, in addition to 2 common skill chip chests. Right? That is very good. Drones, once you level up components, especially once you get them to level 8, you get a very large increase in squad power. I think it's worth it to get 14 extra component chests every week. It adds up over time. A lot of the things that are worth putting investment into in this game chip away. You know, you have another one just to go off on a little tangent. Taylor the Survivor, very much worth getting if you are going to spend money in this game, because she doesn't give you anything huge, but she gives you a little bit every day. If you're at a 4-star, she gives you quite a bit every day. But that's how I like to think about these things. I think that this skill, level 5, gets you 3 common skill chips instead of 2. So I have this at level 5 just because I don't have anything else to put points into, and I think it's worth it. This is absolutely, in my opinion, worth getting to level 4, at least. If you have the points to spare, this is a higher priority for me, and it's pretty great. So Fearless Defense, when attacking the base, a proportion of the attacking units will be killed based on the level and number of your fallen units. I feel like this is decent. Again, I don't fight a whole lot, so I haven't seen this used. I do have points into this. Because when defending it can be good. I think it has some utility to it, and once you get to the top of the skill tree, the skills kind of get bad. You'll see in a second. So this is worth throwing a point or 2 in if you don't have anywhere else to put it. Maybe upwards of 5 again if you don't have anywhere else to put them, or you don't, you have a different situation than I do. So I feel like it's okay. Not a high priority, but like I think it's worth investing in. So Gather for Warmth, efficiency of warming up allies is 100%. So similar to Season 1, where you send a scout plane to heal the virus from your allies, or to lower that, in Season 2, you send out a scout plane to your allies to heat them up. And it does cost 100 coal, which is not very much. But every time you send a plane, it costs 100 coal. And you heat them up 2 degrees. With this, you heat them up 4 degrees, and this is absolutely worth putting a point into. This is super useful because you don't realize how little 2 degrees is until you use your farm account to heat up your main account because nobody else is online. And in order to get the most out of resource gathering with the interior buff, you don't realize how little 2 is when you're trying to combat that every second you drop 0.1 degrees. So this is worth having. This is a great thing to have. It's 1 point that you could put into it. Helps you a lot. Helps your allies a lot. Or it helps your allies a lot. Probably doesn't help you a ton, but absolutely worth getting. Random visitors. So this one is not good. I feel like they were on to something with this. I feel like this is something that is going to get buffed in the future because this is a level 50 skill. You have to be level 50 with your profession to get this. You get 1 random visitor every 120 hours, essentially. So every 5 days, you activate this skill at level 1. Every 5 days, you activate this skill, and you get 1 random survivor. That survivor could be blue. That survivor may be gold if you're lucky. That survivor might be green. At a certain point in the game, blue and green survivors are nearly useless. And if you are a level 50 profession, you are probably at that point where they are nearly useless. This is not worth putting points into. Not unless you have a bunch of extra points left over. You don't need them for anything else, and you can get this to level 5. Because then at least you're getting 1 every day, I believe. But even then, it's not good. The randomness factor to it, if it was guaranteed, if it was like map pieces and you were guaranteed to get a gold one every X amount of times you used it, then sure, but that's not the case right now. So don't waste points on that one. Durability mine. This one's another controversial one because I don't have any points into it. I can see the usefulness of it, but at level 1, it does 500 damage. Um, it's not it's not fantastic to me. If it was level 5, then sure. If you're doing 2,500 damage and it's lighting the enemy base on fire, then sure. But 500 damage is next to nothing, right? This one is probably one I'm going to get pushback from people on, so I fully expect that, and that's fine. Other people probably have more experience with it than I do. I don't put points into it. I fight in other ways and I help in other ways, so probably worth somebody having, but as a general, I don't think everybody needs it. Frost Bomb, it's 5 degrees. I don't really see the point in getting this one. It's a 5-degree drop in temperature. It's the opposite of Firebomb. This is at level 1. I don't know what it is at level 2 or 3, and honestly, I don't really care. This can have some utility when fighting, but I don't think it's enough to invest points into personally. Support boost, time help per action plus 30 seconds. So this is probably, yes. See, now you're getting to the point where this is a level 55 skill and it's a 30% or it's a 30-second increase, which if you're this high of a level, odds are your buildings are going to start edging towards the percent increase rather than the flat time increase. If you didn't know there's a difference, if something is 30 days long, then you aren't going to get it based on time. You're going to get it based on a percentage of the total with each help that you get. So I think support boost is not worth it. If this was lower in the tree, then sure, but it's not. So I don't think support boost is worth it. You have other ways to get this. Maybe I was going to say maybe if you're a low level, but this is a level 55 skill. I don't think it's useful at this stage. One more, the daily task points chest have 5% chance to double your rewards. This goes up to 25%, and that is your daily skills, daily tasks here. So each one of these chests individually at max level would have a 25% chance of doubling. I have this maxed out on my main account. This does not feel like a 25% increase. I would say that they're fudging the numbers, but that's also just anecdotal. So, but still, this is a good one to have, especially because you get drone parts from the first 3 boxes, or from 3 of the boxes at least, on your daily tasks. So I think this is a good one to have if you have the points for it. This can pay off a lot. I do get doubles on average maybe once a day. Maybe a little bit less than that, which is why I'm not so sure about the percentage increase, but about once a day you will get a double. I think it's worth taking. Efficient gathering, 5% gathering speed. I have this one maxed out on my main account because I don't have anything else that I want to put points into. This is okay. It's that would be the definition of it for me, like, or the reason you'd use it. If you have nothing else to put points into and you want to help yourself out a little bit, you can put them into efficient gathering. It's fine. There is, once you get it to 25%, it's a pretty notable increase. Instead of, mining and it taking me 10 hours to do in a level 11 mine, now it takes me like 8 and change or something. And the math is probably wrong on that, but just as an example, it's worth it if you have extra points lying around. First aid expert. So when defeated, the proportion entering the emergency center is plus 1%. So again, in season 2 or near season 2, you get the ICU, which a fraction of the units that die in battle go to the ICU instead. And it has a cap on how many you can put in there, and it has a cap on how many go in there before it reaches full capacity. And it also has a timer on it. So at max level, I believe every 2 days you can empty the ICU into your troops, into your drill grounds. So the ICU is good to have. This, however, I don't think is going to be good for most people, because my restriction on my ICU is not how many people are dying. I'm at full capacity anyways. So all this is going to do is fill up my ICU quicker. not really worth it to me. If this was a volume increase to how much your ICU can hold, then that would be a little bit different, right? If it was a volume increase in addition to the proportion that enter it instead of dying, that would be way different. This is just going to fill up your ICU quicker, which if you don't fight that much and you want to save a few troops, then that's fine. But for me, every 2 days I am nearly max at my ICU. So that I am waiting till I can empty that every single 2 days. This just fills it up quicker, so I'm still gonna have to wait, and I'm still gonna have full ICU. Not worth putting any points into for me personally. Frost mine. I mean, you know how I feel about the mine from before, and then this is frost, which means it's a 5 degree difference. 5 degrees is next to nothing. It probably goes up as you go up. I mean, it does go up as you go up, but I unless it's a substantial amount, I just don't think it's worth it. Um, getting them cold is not getting your opponent cold is even less useful than the frost bomb in my opinion. With a mine because it's a one-time hit. I I don't know. I wouldn't get it. So that's just my opinion. Again, I don't know a ton about those things, so take it with a grain of salt. Battlefield cleanup after defeating Ironhead, Glutton, Miser, and Doom release the gain for gold, coin, or for coin, food, and iron goes up 2%. This is at level 1. I'm assuming this goes up to 10%, and this is useless to me. If you have a ton of extra points lying around, which really you shouldn't by this point, because there are plenty of other things that are way better than this. But a 2% increase is nothing. Monica right now gives me a 60% increase. So every time that I'm fighting a Doom Elite when I'm farming, I get a 60% increase on resources. Doing another 2% on top of that is nothing. 10% on top of that is nothing because she's already given me 60. If this was a 5% increase at level 1, then maybe, because we get up to 25%, and that's a pretty substantial boost. But as it stands right now, if I get 100,000 from an enemy, this gives me 102,000 instead. No, that's not worth any points in my opinion. Master Builder, building speed up 5%. This is good. I just kind of got to the point where most of my buildings are hitting maxed out levels, so I don't really have a use for this. I don't have any points into this. But if you are still building, this is absolutely worth your time. This can help with seasonal buildings if you get, but it's also going to be late season because it's level 65. Helps with seasonal buildings. It can help with your HQ increases. You know, big buildings like that. Obviously, 5% goes up to 25%. Sure, this is a good one. It's a pretty solid one. If you still have buildings to build, it's even more useful. I don't have as many buildings to build. I think I'm just on the tank, air, and missile centers as the ones that I really need to increase next. Instant gathering. This is another one where it's a good idea, but it just doesn't. The payoff is just not there. Basically every 5 days you can empty out a mine out in the world map, right? So if I am going to a level 12 mine, I think that's close to 400k gold. I can get 400k gold every 5 days at level 1. It's just not. It's not good. It's not worth it. And it's 400k gold. I mean that's it's not good, right? Even at max level, I believe this will go down to every day. But even so, it's an extra upwards of close to 400,000 gold per day. If you need something in a pinch, this is okay, I guess. But even there are much better uses for your points. Instant gathering is, again, it's one of those things where it's a good idea, but they did not balance this well at all. Every 5 days and then reducing it down to every 1 day is absurd. I think it should have. They need to mess with the numbers on this one a bit. Monster tracking, marching speed against monsters is plus 5%. So plus 5% is substantial, right? But this is against monsters, and there are just not many times where I'm finding myself needing to attack monsters that quickly. So this goes up to 25%, which is it's a very large increase in marching speed, but it's against monsters. You know, if it was against other HQs, then maybe even if it was to like going gathering, if this was like a gather spot instead, like a mine or a farmland out in the world map, then I would still consider putting points into this if I had some left over. But against monsters, I mean, it can help a little bit against coin zombies, I guess, when you're going around and you're chaining them one after the other. But I wouldn't put points into this. So, um, and that's the end of the list for right now. So, uh, again, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but I've been playing for a while. I know a good bit about the game. Open to hearing, questions and criticisms if people find this video and want to talk about it in the comments. So hey, good luck out there.